What's up, guys? I am doing my predictions. You know, trying to be super consistent this year. I fucking love fighting. I love talking about it, and I feel like I should be talking about it on YouTube. I'm doing UFC Fight Night in Brazil. Kevin Lee versus Charles Oliveira. I'm doing my predictions. Obviously, I do the main card, but this card is stacked, guys. Man, this is a really really good card. Even the prelims got some fights to see. You got Joshua Formiga fighting Amanda Remus, Ezekiel Dos Santos. Um, who else is on? Yeah, well, there Antonio Carlos Jr. was going to be on there, but he's not. But a lot of great, um, what's it called? Uh, fights, and I think it is something to check out. Um, it's a really really good card. Um, and I think it's just an awesome lightweight main event when you think about it. Starting off the card, I always go from bottom to top. You got Francisco Trinaldo versus John Medeski. Francisco looked pretty good his last fight, I think against Bobby Green, and I thought he did. He actually, I don't want to say he beat Alex Hernandez, but he actually did really, really good against Alex Hernandez. I thought he was able to keep the pace. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it's hard, man. I gotta watch the fight again. But when they said it was Alex Hernandez, I wasn't too crazy shocked by it. But John Medeski is young. He's coming for that blood. So, and Francis is kind of like at the end of his run. But this fight would have been great a long time ago. But if I'm looking at it, let's look at age 34 or 41, height 5'7", 5'8". Francis has a reach advantage. I'm gonna go with John Medeski. Next fight is a really really interesting light heavyweight fight. You got Johnny Walker versus Nikita Krylov. This is a really really risky fight. Nikita Krylov, he had a really close decision against Glover Teixeira. Didn't really look bad in his loss. On the other hand, Johnny Walker got knocked out by Corey Anderson, and he did look kind of bad in his loss. But here's the difference. And obviously, someone's coming off a knockout. Usually you go with the other guy because it's kind of hard to rebound from a knockout. But and I'm obviously a big Firas Zahabi guy, and I know a lot of people criticize Firas Zahabi. They're like, well, who is he really? He only had a GSP and Roy McDonald. That's about it. He's not that good of a coach. But I think in terms of talent, he does great with talent. If anyone's familiar with basketball, Phil Jackson kind of gets that similar rep. He had Kobe and Shaq and Jordan and Pippen, but you still have to give credit to the coach that even though he had great talent, he made them become successful. Because at the same time, they those guys didn't have to be successful, and we didn't know what Kobe was going to be when he got in the league. But we're not here to talk about basketball. We're here to talk about fighting. So I have a lot of great trust in Firas Zahabi. Nikita Krylov, honestly, if he did not switch camps, I would have went with Nikita. Nikita's a grinder. He's always looking to win. But I'm going to go with Johnny Walker, man. I'm going to go with Johnny Walker, man. Nikita, this is all telling me because we haven't seen Johnny Walker go 3 rounds, so he could gas out potentially. You never know. So this could end up being pretty bad. But I'm going to go Johnny Walker. Smart money would be probably go to Nikita. But I'm going to go Johnny Walker. Then this one's a really interesting. You got Renato Moicano moving up to lightweight versus Damir Hazovic. I think that's his name. Let's look at this. Let's look at the lineup. Renato Moicano is a little younger. He's a little taller, and he has a reach advantage. I'm not that familiar with Damir, but I'm gonna go Moicano, even though Moicano is coming off of 2 stoppage losses at featherweight. Really bad knockout against Korean Zombie, but actually it wasn't that bad. He just got just cleaned out. But yeah, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I think Moicano is probably either blamed the weight cut, but let's not forget this is the same guy. I always thought the Cub Swanson victory was kind of overrated, but he was a top 5 guy, and he was the last guy to beat Calvin Kattar, and Calvin Kattar is one good fighter, man, and I don't doubt Calvin. Uh, so in our co-main event, you got Damian Maia versus Gilbert Burns. For 3 rounds, when you have two grapplers, you usually kind of be like, well, I think they're going to stand and bang. Damian Maia isn't like that. I think Damian Maia is going to go for the takedowns, and I think Gilbert is good enough at grappling and a well-versed MMA fighter to keep it on the feet. And I think, if I'm in Gilbert's corner, I think that's what the game plan is going to be. Keep it on the feet and just jab him up and beat him up. Like he fought Gunnar Nelson, I think. But Damian Maia, man, you never doubt Damian, man. The guy is still going at it, top 5 guy, and the fact he took a guy like Gilbert Burns that is hungry and coming to the Henry Hoof Hard Knocks gym, it's interesting, but it's a hard one. It's this one's a hard one. I guess I'm gonna go Gilbert Burns. I'm gonna go on the youth movement. I think probably Damian needs to win this, and then if Jorge Masvidal fights Usman and if Jorge wins, that's probably what he's gunning for, to get that Jorge Masvidal rematch. But I'm gonna go Gilbert. I think I'm gonna go with the youth movement. In our main event, this is a great fucking fight. I mean, such similar paths to these moments that they've been on. Kevin Lee versus Charles Oliveira. Both the guys. Charles Oliveira was supposed to be, the guy at featherweight, and then Anthony Pettis shut that down. And then we were like, okay, he's gonna go up to lightweight and he's gonna fix everything. Then Paul Felder shut him down, and then he's been on this 6-fight win streak, insane, beating people like Jim Miller, Nick Lentz, Jared Gordon, David Tamor, I think. Man, guys just high, man. And these are things, what really impressed me. Both guys were on the same card. Kevin Lee was fighting Ali Quinta, and Charles Oliveira was fighting Jim Miller. 2 rematches. Jim Miller submitted Charles the first time, and Charles Oliveira went in there, picked up Jim Miller, slammed him, and submitted him like he was a nobody. Like they weren't in the same octagon, or they shouldn't have been in the goddamn same arena. Charles Oliveira has improved. It's really hard to improve in this game of MMA. Usually, when you get to the highest level, you don't really see guys improve. But he is just, he's been on something, and I've been really, really impressed with him, and impressed with his Jared Gordon fight. He's what I thought Brian Ortega would be, a guy that has a great bottom game, has a great jiu-jitsu game, has a great wrestling game, and has a great striking game. Obviously, Brian Ortega doesn't necessarily have a great wrestling game, has decent boxing, but just isn't the striker that Charles Oliveira is, and I think that's what Charles is. He's just really lethal everywhere, or at least with his opponents he's looked super lethal. But he's going up against a guy like Kevin Lee, who has fought for an interim title, has beaten guys like Michael Chiesa, Gregor Gillespie, Edson Barboza. Who else did Kevin Lee beat? Am I forgetting anybody? He beat Francis Ronaldo, who's on this card. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. I might not be forgetting nobody. Yeah, I think in terms of big names, I think those are probably the biggest names he's probably beat. But beating guys like that, if we look at the other 2 victories, Michael Chiesa and then Edson Barboza, those were. I think Michael Chiesa, he still had his head coach, but you look at the Edson Barboza fight, you've seen a guy just put it on somebody, and Kevin Lee's a dominant guy, but he never had a head coach to really put all things together. You look at Kevin Lee, even in his losses against Ali Quinta, his losses against Dos Anjos, his losses against Tony Ferguson, and I might go on. You just see sparks of greatness in this kid. He has legitimate championship potential. But, it's always been a problem. There's always been a gas tank problem. It's always been this or that. And or he got screwed by the judges, and you always hear him complaining. And a lot of people don't like Kevin Lee. A lot of my friends think he's a crybaby. But when he fought Gregor Gillespie, I hated the fight. but he teamed up with Firas Zahabi. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast when he didn't have to, when he lost to Dos Anjos. And that was a really big low for him. A lot of people said he was done and said, we're done watching this guy. He's a nobody. I remember one of my guys as well. I think Kevin Lee can never be that guy. And I was like, I'm not giving up on him. He reminds me so much of a Georges St. Pierre. Kevin Lee's I think a Division II national, I think, runner-up or first rounder. I keep on forgetting what his college or wrestling credentials are, but he did pretty decent in that area. But he's not the best wrestler in the division. Kevin Lee's a very explosive striker, but he's not the best striker in the division. But in MMA, you don't have to necessarily be the best guy in one discipline art. You just what you can be great at too is mixing everything up. And Kevin Lee has the potential to be able to mix everything up. Like a Georges St. Pierre, man. George was so good at mixing everything up. When he fought the grapplers, he would stop the grappling and apply a jab on them. When he fought the strikers, he would use his wrestling. I truly feel like Georges St. Pierre, Kevin Lee is similar to that. You look at his reach, man. Let's look at the reach. Yeah, Kevin Lee with a 77 reach advantage. It's like it's insane to me. 27 and Charles is 30. Like, you look at this fight. If there was no if this happened right after the Rafael dos Anjos loss, I would have went Charles Oliveira. But when he fought Gregor Gillespie, and it was hard for me to pick. I picked Kevin Lee because he's my boy, but I wasn't confident. I wasn't confident in him to win. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I thought he was gonna fucking lose. I thought he was gonna. There was a part of me like Gregor Gillespie could just outwork him like Al Iaquinta did and just take him down and just beat on him. But that motherfucker kicked that dude's head off and shut everybody. Like, all my friends that doubted him was in the room, and he shut everybody up. Kevin Lee proved to everyone how good of a talent he is. And that's why I'm going with him. Just based on the fact that he went to Firas Zahabi, like Johnny Walker, who's a great guy, and did coach Georges St. Pierre and did coach him how to mix things up. And I just feel like Kevin Lee is in a different part of his career where he's just taking on all these killers, man, and he just wants to win. And I'm going Kevin Lee, man. I'm going Kevin fucking Lee to beat Charles Oliveira in a decision. So I'm going Kevin Lee, Gilbert Burns, Renato Moicano, Johnny Walker, and John Medeski. I'm going John Medeski. So those are my picks. I hope you guys enjoy the show, man. It's going to be an awesome show, and see y'all.